All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting session of the Milford School Committee. Today is Thursday, June 6, 2024, and this meeting is being broadcast and recorded by Milford TV. Copies can be obtained at the request of this board or through central office. We'll start quickly with the approval of minutes. First item is May 2nd, 2024 executive session minutes that were revised from last week. This is approval only, not for release. Any comments, questions on those? No? I'll take a motion to accept. Motion by Megan.
Second.
Second by Chris. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. And then the next minutes are from, please, May 16th, 2024. That was the, I believe, a regular session. Megan?
Can I just make a motion to approve these minutes with two minor edits, just in the section labeled 14. When it said I mentioned something specific, it should say MASC, and then specifically policies DG and DGE. So just two minor changes. So it's just MASC, and then add the word policies.
Okay.
But I'd make a motion to approve those minutes with those two minor edits.
Anything else? No? Okay, motion by Megan with two edits. For a second.
I'll second it.
Second by John. All in favor?
I thought I was missing something. Nobody else.
I'm going to abstain. I wasn't there.
Oh,
if you have your full votes.
We have 4 in favor. And the abstention is Chris Wilson. Thank you.
I'm like, what's Chris doing?
That's why I didn't second
I was like, who's
what's going on? Second it because I wasn't there.
All right. Thank you for that. We'll get those corrected as well. So, announcements, correspondence, and distribution. Does anyone have that? Go ahead, Michael.
I got the pleasure of being a chaperone at the 2nd grade field trip at Memorial. We went to the Worcester Ecotarium. Meg was also there. Very well organized. The kids loved it. Field trips were awesome. I got assigned six girls with my daughter, which was a lot of fun. So thank you to the Memorial staff. It was fun, yeah.
Anything else?
Graduation was a great event, under 2 hours, which is great. And appreciate the board for allowing me to hand out diplomas again. So it was it's always great to see all the smiling faces and just the expression of gratitude on their faces.
Fantastic. All right.
I've got 2 if there's nobody else.
Go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to add to the graduation piece. Again, high school graduation was this past Sunday. I want to thank Principal Josh Otland, graduation coordinator Christina Lando, our custodial team, our music program team, and student musicians and chorus, and our staff for making the day a special one for the class of 2024. The weather was fantastic. The students were excited for the last step in their Milford Public Schools educational journey. There was a huge crowd on hand to cheer on the graduates, and I want to wish them all the best of luck in college or as they enter the workforce or the military. Congratulations to the class of 2024, both to your daughter and where do you go? Andrew.
Andrew's right over here.
Oh, there he is. You were just sitting behind me.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
He's a man of mystery. The second one is I had the pleasure of attending the EL program graduation ceremonies at both Stacy Middle School and Woodland Elementary School this week. Both ceremonies were very well attended and well organized. It was fantastic to see how proud the students, educators, and families were. Fantastic job by everyone involved. Both great events. All 3 of them, actually. And Andrew sitting over there.
Thank you. So yeah, we see Andrew sitting there. He's not on the agenda tonight. You're off the hook. We didn't ask you to bring us any big updates, but we did want to take an opportunity as a committee to thank you for your commitment to serving your classmates and MHS and the time you spent with us. So I wanted to open it up to anyone who had anything they wanted to say.
Go first or want me to go? All right, I'll go first. All right, so yeah, thank you very much for all the time coming here, giving the updates. Really appreciate it. I jotted down a couple things little known facts, maybe that people don't know about Andrew. He recently ran under 5 minutes for his mile.
4:59.
So, and he's been shooting for that under 5 minutes. I don't care what the time is. So look at the Hockomock Championship. So he's been working all year for that and got it at the last meet of the year. So that's great. Found out at senior night that Andrew plays the piano, and he was part of a great performance of all of the lights.
All of the lights, yeah.
All the lights. So that we received a standing ovation at the end. So it was great. And he was also one of the creative members of the Senior Lip Dub. So I would encourage everybody to watch the Senior Lip Dub. Andrew is a part of the opening and
the writer. Yeah.
So, so little known facts about him as he finishes up. But again, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys for your time as well.
Yeah, I just add, Andrew, I think bringing a student voice to this committee has been incredibly valuable. So commend you. I know it's hard, with the busy workload, not only academically, but sports and then all the arts and music and stuff that you do. So we really appreciate you carving out time. We know you're going to be super successful in whatever's next, and we can't wait to hear about the latest movie, film, product that comes out. So good luck to you, Andrew.
Thank you so much.
All right. I'm just going to echo what they had to say. I really appreciate getting the view from a student. It's something that we can't bring to this table. So hearing directly from you and what your classmates report to you is very helpful for us. And I'm going to steal something I've heard Megan say a couple years in a row, which is come back next year and let us know if you felt prepared for your first year in college, because I think we're really excited for you and wish you the best of luck. We do have one little gift for you up here, too, before you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Right?
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Wait, thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it. It's been an honor to serve you guys.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, Andrew.
I do have one more announcement while you're doing that. Shout out to Jeremy Folster's class. So, school building committee.
Good luck, Andrew.
Happy Andrew. I asked them to create a splash video. We enter the program August 5th, so it'd be nice to release, a video, kind of celebrating that. So they actually did send us the first draft yesterday. So big shout out to Jeremy and his class.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Any more announcements? No? All right, we can move on to invitation to speak. Is anyone here for that? Not look like it, so we can move forward with the handbooks and school improvement plans. We'll start with Principals Houston and Burns. Please come on up. Sit. Hi.
Hello.
So we do have an outline of the changes that were made in the handbook for both Brookside and Memorial. Any members have any questions about that, or if you guys have anything you want to add to that, you can let us know now.
They were just very minimal changes, just policies that were changed throughout the year already approved by school committee, as well as FPAC, and then changes in staff information.
Same?
Same,
Okay.
yes, yep. Yeah, we
All right.
did, our assistant principals did a lot of work on the handbook last year, so this year it was just the policy updates and little things this year, so.
Very good. If that's the case, then let's get a motion to approve both the Brookside and Memorial handbooks for 2024-25.
Motion.
Motion by Chris, second by Michael. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. We can move on to the school improvement plans.
All right. Well, thank you for having us tonight. As in past years, Vicki and I worked with our staff and our school council members to develop the plan. They do vary a little bit, and Vicki, both of us can kind of outline the differences as we go. But the formatting is the same, and we changed the formatting this year that made a little bit more sense for our schools based off of the district strategic plan that we were working from. So our goals that you'll see, Memorial has 4 goals and priority areas, and the goals are goals that are taken directly from the district strategic plan. So that's kind of how each section is started with a goal that came directly from our district plan. And then we have strategic initiatives, action steps, our measures of success, and then our current data that we pulled from to create our goals and plans for the year. And kind of look at it like, if we do this and we do this, then this will be what our measures of success are. So that's how it's laid out. Our first one, I think, is very similar. I know that Memorial's plan is a 1-year plan. Brookside's is a 3-year plan, so I think you might see a little bit you'll see some of those differences and maybe a little bit more depth in maybe Brookside's than Memorial's, because we're looking more at 1 year at a time. But the first one's around looking at high-quality instructional practices, and that's the first goal. And we are, our school leaders will do, if our school leaders do this, provide high-quality instructional materials, if we create and maintain systems and structures to help develop our teachers' craft, then, student learning will improve. Our measures of success, we use the iReady. So if we're looking to improve our students' iReady scores in ELA as well as math. We're also looking to elevate our student discourse by increasing the quality of high-quality, rigorous questions across all content areas. And we're looking to have our professional development facilitated by school leaders, so like Ms. Hinnant and myself and our the two of us, as well as our curriculum supervisors, but also teacher leaders in the building. We found that professional development provided by fellow colleagues has been really effective and productive and well received by staff. So we really want to grow that initiative, and that's really our first goal at Memorial. So I don't know if you want, Vicki, then to add on, or you want us to just go separate?
Sure.
I think I'll add on to that.
Okay.
So I think this plan is a bit of a shift, because if you look at the data that is provided on both of ours, the past 2 years we focused on IM training as well as science of reading and looking at data, and we haven't seen a big shift in student growth in both reading and math. So when we collaborated and talked about it, we're really thinking about, yes, we need high quality materials, but more importantly, we need instructional practices for our teachers to carry over into the classroom. So I think that's where our first goal comes from. Mine's a little bit more lofty because we're going to focus on it over 3 years. So additional practices that Brookside's going to look at for PD are active collaboration, communication, rigorous tasks, effective questioning, co-teaching models, culturally responsive practices, giving high-quality feedback from admin to teachers, and then teachers to students, and then staff to families. So with all of those objectives in there, it's going to take us at least 2 to 3 years to roll that out. So we're focusing on a similar goal, but mine's across 3 years with more objectives, where Lisa broke hers down into 1 year. Okay. Any questions on that goal?
I have some questions on the measures of success.
Mm-hmm.
So Memorial, the numbers make sense to me, right? So when we go through, it says, as measured by iReady, the grade level in ELA will increase by 10%, and then it breaks it down, 60% of students typical growth and 39% of stretch. When I go to Brookside, when it says May of 2025, at least 52% of students will make typical growth. What's the other 48%?
So, again, I'm sorry, I didn't add this in there, but we're going to continue to look at the growth over the 3 years, and so this is the growth for next year.
Okay.
But we're going to, each year, look at the growth and increase the percentage.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Because we'll want to adjust and reflect based on what we're seeing as we move on.
Sure. So if I take 52% and 30, so that's 82% you're saying of students will do above typical.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Any other questions? No? Okay, you can move to the next one, please.
Is it the same as MTSS both?
Mhm.
Okay. So again, you'll see that the goal is around, mimics the strategic plan for the district, and this goal is around multi-tiered systems of support, our MTSS process, which Several members of both schools have been participating in a district-wide MTSS committee and really worked hard on building up our MTS team and processes. So this is now we're more rolling it out to the whole
Can you
staff.
explain what MTSS is?
Yes, so it's kind of our response to students that maybe are struggling, whether it's academically, behaviorally, that are struggling with our Tier 1 instruction and programs in school. If they're not meeting expectations, teachers there's a process for teachers to refer them to our MTSS team where we look at the student information and assessments, and teachers put in some interventions for students. We come back as a team, look at how that's working, what might need to change, maybe try another 6 weeks intervention, and kind of go through that process throughout the school year.
Can I just add to that?
Sure.
So it's multi-tiered system of supports. So you think of a pyramid, and the bottom support layer is Tier 1, and that's all students should have access to that instructional level, so that's your grade level curriculum. And then students that are struggling need a little bit more dose, like a second dose, so that's your second tier. And then your third tier are those students that still aren't showing that progress and growth and need even additional support, which leads into like that special education services.
Could you clarify how you think about that, kind of as we think about, like you included the demographics, Lisa, of the school, which was super helpful. How do you think about the MTSS compared to high needs? Like what tier would be sort of, what align? Or maybe there's no relationship, curious.
So our high needs are Tier 3.
Okay.
And again, we want to make sure that all students are exposed to that Tier 1 level, because if we just focus on that Tier 3 level and that high needs, that gap is never closing, and we've seen that. So we want to close that gap, so we want to ensure that everybody's getting that Tier 1, and the students that need it are also getting that Tier 2 or that Tier 3. So it's like additional supports, additional doses of the same.
Yep.
Correct.
If you had to estimate within the building, what % of the students would be kind of needing that Tier 2 and Tier 3 support?
We've looked at this data a little bit, so I'm going to look to you, Sam. 'Cause I feel like-
Approximately. If you don't have it, you can follow up. I'm just curious.
No, so I mean, if we look at if you look at your iReady data,
Yeah.
and that's a good benchmark, and that's one assessment, right? But if we
Because
think
they're not
about,
meeting the growth.
yeah, so if we think about iReady and we look at how many students are at or above grade level, right now I think at Memorial, I think it's 35%.
Okay.
Then you have students who are 1 year or more than 1 year.
Got
Those students that are a year or more than 1 year would be the students that we are identifying as needing this additional support.
Got
So as a school, we look at them, right, using our data, we'll define like these students are not making typical growth or we're concerned about their growth. Also, teachers can come to us and say they're seeing, because iReady can give us a picture, but it's more of just like a dipstick into what's happening, and we need a more cohesive assessment platform to look at to see how they are progressing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really helpful.
And if you look, again, if you look on our current data and trends, we did look, so if, we have 475 students at Memorial School, 95 students were brought to MTSS during this school year. So, we're speaking about what our iReady looks like, and like Sam said, and, Vicki, that's just like one assessment that we have that we use. There's many other, assessments that are obviously performed throughout the school year. So that's just one assessment. So I'd say, a good amount, 95 out of 475 were in our MTSS process this year.
Awesome.
So
That's really
And
helpful.
then if I could just add
Yeah.
one more piece, that you talk about that high needs number, which is about 70% of the district, give or
Right.
take. It's a little below 70%. There's already specialized supports built into that. So students who are multilingual learners are already getting specialized instruction. Students who are identified as special needs are already getting specialized instruction. Students who are economically disadvantaged aren't necessarily getting specialized instruction. Is it like
Would the
as-
first
as
two
defined.
categories, Kevin, be in the MTSS because of that, or no, that's
Well,
separate?
I would say I wouldn't look at like I think like they're going to be higher on the pyramid because they're already receiving that specialized instructional support.
Right.
Whereas like a student who's economically disadvantaged and maybe isn't a student
it.
with a disability or isn't a student with who's receiving EL services isn't going to necessarily get that specialized instruction
Got
off
it.
the bat, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
But this goal is also to provide our educators with additional strategies and interventions, so we don't over-identify students for special education, and to make sure that they're getting the services right in the classroom, so
Great.
it's least restrictive environment.
Great. Thank you.
So again, it's set up the same way that we talked about the goal before. If we do this, then this will be our measures of success. So we were able to provide, we surveyed the teachers at the end of, or a month ago, about our MTSS process, and so we're looking for, more of our teachers to say that when they brought student to MTSS, that the interventions provided met the student's needs. So we're looking to increase that rate with our staff and students. We're also looking to decrease our chronic absenteeism as well as tardies at the school. Several staff members at Memorial, as well as across the district, participated in the DataWise training through Harvard. So we went through that as a leadership team in the school, and we were able to go through some data cycles with our first grade teams, and now we're going to be bringing that to all of our teams to really be looking at our assessments and the data that we have to drive our instruction and improve outcomes for our students.
So additionally, we've been focusing on responsive classroom practices. So MTSS isn't just about academics, that's also about social, emotional, and behavioral needs. So we want to continue to grow our practices with responsive classroom and ensure that our teachers have the ability to provide social emotional support and strategies to help students who need it. As well as that, same as Memorial, we've been in the DataWise process, so we're continuing with that as well.
Any questions on it? Okay.
So I think this is maybe where our school improvement plans start to differ. The third goal for Memorial really focused on reading, where I think Brookside weaved reading more into their first goal. We separated out our reading goal to really focus on creating effective literacy blocks for our students. Our teachers have all been involved in the Keys to Literacy training this year, and that we've gotten through modules 1 through 4, and that will continue next year. We're also doing some pilot work with our director of ELA, where teachers will be piloting different programs. So again, it looks at, we're using the iReady data to increase our students' performance on the iReady. So that's just broken down a little bit more in this goal for Memorial.
Where in Brookside, I incorporated those instructional practices across all academic areas. So all of those focus areas will be carried across reading and math. So we want our teachers to use active collaboration and communication and reading. This is what it's going to look like during a reading lesson. This is what it's going to look like during a math lesson. Asking higher order thinking questions. This is what it's going to look like in reading. This is what it's going to look like in math. So I incorporated that throughout the academic content areas. So that's where we differ. My third goal focuses on professional culture. We want to create an environment at Brookside that promotes collaboration, uses the DataWise process that we've started in development of teacher leaders within our staff to provide professional development to colleagues. We want to have all teachers develop goals that align to the school improvement plan, which aligns to the district plan. So we're all on the same page and we all have the same target goal. We want to create safe spaces for staff to reflect and contribute ideas in order to increase student performance. And we want to encourage staff to share practices and open their doors to observe one another, because we know that our staff is very skilled, and we want to hone into that, and we want to have them share practices. And again, although my plan is a 3-year plan, we're going to continuously assess and monitor the progress and make adjustments as needed.
Somebody's happy.
Any questions for either on those?
Lisa does have a fourth goal, I
Yes,
think.
yeah. So my final goal is around culture, including social emotional learning and professional culture, where we're looking at collaboration amongst teachers, administrators, staff members, students, and families, in that we are establishing expectations and routines within our schools. So this past year, our members of our leadership team at Memorial School worked on creating a school-wide behavior management system, which has been, has come from feedback from our teachers, where we're helping teachers create clear expectations for classroom management, as well as what the expectation will be for school leaders as well. We're looking to increase our staff members that are participating in the CPI training, which is crisis prevention intervention, and what we've found has been really great about that training is building our capacity to de-escalate some challenging situations. So that's what we're really hoping to help build our staff's capacity, how to effectively de-escalate some situations. We want to continue to facilitate a strong homeschool partnership, and bringing in families that to participate in our school, more than we have been, and continuing to create safe places for our teachers to collaborate and work together. Continuing with having family engagement nights, and this is where our responsive classroom training this is where we added in the responsive classroom work that Vicki was talking about. So currently we have 56% of our teachers who have participated in the responsive classroom training, and we're looking to increase that next year, should funds allow. But right now, I think between both schools, we probably have like 30 teachers that are in this training over last week and then into next week, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Any questions on that goal? Okay. Vicki, do you want to run us through the update on previous goals for Brookside?
Oh, sure. So our first goal this year was all K-2 teachers will engage in year-long professional development in early literacy skills, including the science of reading. So we partially met this. So we've gotten through, there's 8 modules. We've gotten through the first 4, and then the next 4 will continue next year. And that's part of our instructional practice goal as well. Part of this goal that we did not meet was learning walks, in creating a tool that included look for. So when we walk through classrooms, we know specifically what we're looking for and are able to give that feedback to teachers. Again, rolled into the instructional practice goal for this year. We met all teachers. All teachers were obligated to use foundations and Haggerty, and during a 60-minute block, we met that goal. And over 10 hours of professional development was carried out in the science of reading for staff. We met that objective for that goal as well.
Excellent. Questions? No? Okay.
In our plans last year were
more,
pretty identical.
I think they're different order, so the goal that Vicki just spoke about is my goal 2, but her goal 1, but very similar progress towards goals where we were, we met the professional development for modules 1 through before. We weren't able to do the learning walks as anticipated with creating the tool for that. Teachers did collaborate during their TCT times. We partially met the goal around Hegarty, and we met the goal, at least one contractual day was dedicated to the literacy professional development.
It looks like.
And then our math goal should be the
next to our flip,
same.
goal 1 and 2.
Yes, yeah. So this goal was around our classrooms. This was is aligned to mathematics and focusing on assessments in particular. So 100% of our classrooms implemented the end of unit assessments. We did meet that goal. We did not meet the goal of, at Memorial, 100% of classroom teachers collecting and inputting and analyzing the results. And then we did meet the final goal around the meeting with the DataWise coach and our teaching lab partners to identify trends and patterns of success at Memorial.
So same at Brookside. I just want to add that at Brookside, at least in probably at Memorial, our math specialists did a lot of the meetings with the grade levels to look at the unit assessments as well and to kind of break down the questions and see where students would struggle and how teachers could differentiate instruction to assist with those struggles. Did your math specialist?
Yes, yep.
And then the third goal last year was to develop a READY committee, so race, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and conduct an audit and write a report in order to give some feedback. So at Brookside, we partially met it, so we met and we created an audit tool. We broke into teams, we went in and we did walkthroughs, and our team rated practices based on the tool. We've come together and we've scored it and we've tallied it, but we have not written the report yet. But we are able to identify where the strengths are and where the areas of need are. But we will continue that next year with the report.
And our goal was very similar, if not the exact same. We did partially met parts of the goal. We did create a READY committee that meant almost every month this year, and it included teachers, specialists, administrators. We were able to work together to identify some inequities, and we've partially been able to work through some of those areas of need, but we really need to continue to look at ways to implement the change needed at our school, and this goal is kind of threaded through our 24-25 initiatives. So it will be continuing, but it's more embedded now.
Excellent. Any final questions?
Sounds like you both have been very busy. I just had 2 quick questions. You both mentioned end of unit assessments. Are those consistent either across classrooms, and they consistent across your buildings?
Yes.
Well, so they're part of the illustrative math program.
Okay, so you're talking
so
specifically
they're the
about
same.
math.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Every class
Great.
takes the same assessment.
Perfect. So
Yes.
that feeds right into my next question. So obviously you're in the middle of sort of piloting the literacy piece now. What's kind of the general high-level feedback from IM in terms of how it's being received in the buildings?
I think that
It's new and change is hard, so let's just start there, right?
I think that we, Carrie Taylor did a great job, rolling out that program for us. So even before we brought in illustrative math as the program, we were already involved in some of the components of what is happening in illustrative math. So for example, the collaboration and communication was a goal before we even brought IM into our schools, where our students and teachers, or our teachers, were learning, how to engage students in discourse around math, and that's very much a component of IM. So I think that we really did. She did some great pre-work to get us ready for that program. So and then along the way, there was lots of support with Carrie herself, our assistant principals, us, and our math specialists have really helped engage, work with teachers in rolling out that program. So yeah, I don't think it is like perfect, and I think that we're working collaboratively with Teaching Lab, and we've been doing lots of walkthroughs during our math blocks and kind of looking at current trends. So there's definitely work still to be done, and that's reflected in our school improvement plans as far as what we are looking to kind of increase in our classrooms.
Megan, I think two of the biggest challenges with IM, with anything, it's time.
Sure.
So teachers are having a hard time fitting all the components of a lesson into that 60-minute block. And then one of the other areas that I think is difficult is providing that small group instruction time, because it's a lot of whole group instruction, and finding the time to be able to pull kids that are not grasping the concepts. And then the third thing I think teachers struggle with is it's really a reverse practice. So it's a lot of discovery for students. We want to present them with the information, have them talk about it, and then have them come up with solutions. And that's hard for teachers to not be up in front of the class and giving them the instruction. So those are the three struggles, I would say.
Thanks. Helpful to hear. Thank you.
Anything else?
Chair? Yeah.
Quickly.
Thank you very much for all the hard work, the time that it takes, the presentation, so we appreciate that. Just quickly, how are we doing with parent involvement with this type of group?
It's
What
a
do you mean
struggle.
by the group?
In school council?
In the school council, right? So the development of this is a government mandated
Yeah.
group that is supposed to be, staff and parents. So I'm just kind of curious, since COVID, I think I've asked this every year, since COVID,
Yeah.
are we seeing more parents that want, or are we still struggling to get parents to be involved?
I'm struggling to get parents involved.
Mhm.
Last year I had 3. This year I started with 3, and it dwindled down to 1. And I think oftentimes the content is so educational based, like the language is so heavy that they don't always understand.
Right.
And I don't know if they feel like they don't have a lot to offer. I don't
Okay.
know why we're not getting it.
I
And
think-
also, I think given our population, we don't get parents that come out because they don't speak the language. So.
Okay.
And I think overall, we're seeing that we're looking to find ways to increase our parent involvement and engagement in our volunteer organization. So one of our parents came tonight. We had a
Yeah.
PTO meeting last night where we
Yeah.
were talking a lot about how do we get our parents to be involved? How do we have our parents, these groups be representative of the students that are in front of us every day? So it's definitely been a challenge. I don't think it's unique to just our school councils and PTOs. I think that our volunteer organizations overall, groups of people are getting, very taxed in the volunteer work that's happening. So we're definitely trying to think of ways that we can increase involvement and engagement in these groups.
And I wish I had the solution for you. I'm asking the question in hopes that we as a board maybe try to come up with ideas to try to help inspire more involvement. Is that part of your school improvement plan as an additional goal, is how to spearhead involvement?
I think it's somewhat reflected in our goal 4 as far as, engaging families, but,
Yeah, trying
maybe
to
not to
pulling
the
them
extent
in.
that you're
Right,
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
And, we did some a little analysis last
Right.
night where, we can see that our parents come out to, families are really generous and they're donating, school supplies and, donating, coming to our bigger events, but when it comes to sitting at a meeting and planning, we're not seeing that.
Right.
So how do we capitalize on, what our families are telling us, which might be we're really busy, but we're happy to give this or help here. So we're trying to figure it out. It's especially our PTOs really working on that at this point.
And same as Lisa, so our family nights that incorporate Paige's Popcorn and Pajamas, or volunteers for field trips, or bingo night, we get a huge turnout.
Right.
But I think time is limited for some of our
When it comes to the
families.
planning and development
Yeah.
of, this or, the events that happen, it's been a little bit more of a struggle for us certainly. And
Understandable, yeah. Are you
I
on
was
that
going to
same?
make two
yeah.
suggestions, which I know aren't going to
Yeah.
solve the problem, but just ideas. One would be to sort of combine where possible. So maybe the council meeting is right before the PTO meeting. So if you have a group that's already coming, it's sort of at least on the same day. And the next would be just to connect on the Jen's EL, the PAC meetings. Matt and I went to a meeting, and I don't know, Matt, were there 80 people in the room? I mean,
In this room.
I was blown
80
away
people
by
in
the
this room,
attendance.
yeah.
And so I appreciate that the language barrier will bring you challenges, but it might be a great opportunity to have her share opportunities like school council with that group, just to kind of increase awareness, because awareness could be a factor.
Fantastic. One more question? All right. And then, do you feel these school improvement plans are kind of like a tool to help build your budget and what additional supports you may need? Because you talk about kind of the small group and needing to pull kids from the general kind of lecture to small group, and does that warrant additional supports? And then do you use this as a tool to advocate for those additional supports?
I think we personally use the school improvement plan kind of to drive our plan for the school year. So, this will be like our roadmap for the school year as far as like professional development goes with our staff, and plans that we make throughout the school year. Like we probably could, open this up and chart out each month what we're going to do based on this plan. I think budget certainly could be something that, comes out of the plan as we're looking at data, but I think I use it more as like our roadmap for the school year with our teachers.
Same, so it really drives professional development for the year. But I also, part of my plan too, with creating a cohesive team, is using the staff that we have in maximizing their abilities. So when you look at that co-teaching model, are we utilizing our special educators? Are we utilizing our paras and our assistants to the maximum capacity that we can?
And I think while, this year was upcoming year, maybe a challenge financially for our district, I think we were able to really gain some additional staff in previous years that I think we're set up for success this year. I mean, is it ever enough? Maybe not, but I think that, like Vicki said, using the staff in the right places, and really working to foster those co-teaching, those co-taught teams and collaboration, I think that I feel set up for a good way, in a good place for the upcoming year, even though, we didn't get anything we asked for. Just kidding. I still feel like we're going to have a successful, productive year, and I think that we have good plans moving forward to move that needle for our students.
I do think we're extremely lucky in regards to the amount of staff that we do have, housing 3 milestones programs and the therapeutic classroom. We have a lot of support staff that you don't see in other districts. So that's much appreciated.
Excellent. Excellent.
All right, so we need to do votes on the school improvement plans. I'll ask for them separately, given that there's a couple of differences and the time as well. So let's first go with Memorial. I need a motion to accept Memorial's school improvement plan for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Motion by Michael.
Second.
Second by Chris. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. And then also need a motion to accept the Brookside School Improvement Plan for 2024 through 2027. Motion by Megan. Second by John. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much for coming and presenting.
Thank
and
you.
to your staff for all the hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Principal Kernan.
It's great. It's fine.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. Where do you want me to start, Matt?
We'll go with first the handbook. We saw the note. Not a lot of changes. Any questions on the handbook?
No, very similar to what Vicki and Lisa said, adding policies that the school committee adopted and, minor wording changes where, some wordsmithing could be done, nothing that affected content or intent, and then just like staffing, logistical updates for next year.
Very
So
good.
nothing else.
Yeah.
minor change to the head of the building, you know, minor
Little thing
change.
like that.
All right, so I'll take a motion to accept the Woodland Handbook for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Motion by Chris, second by Michael. All in favor? It's unanimous. I see we have a new process. All right.
Using then repeating it.
Go to the school improvement plan.
All right. So first, I want to thank our school committee. Our school council members who participated. That's included at the front of the plan. We appreciate their time to volunteer. And to preempt Chris's question, because you're going to
It was
ask him
coming
later.
anyway,
Yes, I
yeah.
knew it's coming. We had a really nice turnout at the start of the year for our council. I think we had 7 parent volunteers, which was really nice.
Okay.
A couple of them did not attend future meetings, and that's okay. But we still had a really nice representation.
Great.
That said, I do feel like our representation is not indicative of our community. I do feel like we could have a different cross section of our community on our school council, and as Vicki and Lisa said, at other volunteer organizations. I don't feel like it's a true representation of our families. So that's something you'll see in our plan, is working towards that and trying to solve that question that we've been asking for a while. How do we get different voices at the table? How do we get different representation at our different groups? So, but we had a nice council that I feel addressed a couple of things. So, one of the things that you'll notice in this year's plan is it is much smaller than previous plans. And it's different from what I've submitted in the past, and the reason for that simply is there's a new guy coming in, and having a new principal, put forth a plan or have to work with a plan that he had no part in creating, is a lot to ask. But there's also knowing the building, knowing that Dave is coming into a new district, a new school. He's got a lot on his plate as it is. Learning the culture of the building, learning the people, learning how the systems work. And we wanted to give him an opportunity to do all of those things and not be burdened by something that he wasn't a part of developing. But also giving him a chance to make an assessment of what he feels are the needs of the building going forward. So that way, he's not having to scrap a plan that's only been 1 year in motion. So that's why this year's plan is I would say lean. That being said, there's a lot of things that we are doing currently that we will continue to be doing that aren't in this plan. For example, Brookside Memorial spoke to the MTSS process. That's something that we are continuing to do. So that is a process. It's not a goal, but that is something that we are working at. Culturally responsive practices. We're consistently reinforcing those and talking about those with staff. That's an ongoing kind of teacher evaluation professional practice goal that we offer each year. High quality instructional materials and adopting those for literacy and ELA. That's something that's not in this plan. However, that is something that we are going to be doing next year. So although we have, the goals are thin, that doesn't mean that we are not doing many other things, at Woodland next year. We're not just, everything stops because the new principal comes on board. No, there's things that are in motion that are going to stay in motion, okay? So with that said, our first goal is around using data and assessment to inform instruction. And we had a really positive experience with that this year, and that's why we called it out for next year as something to continue. Because it was such a great experience. We had a team this year, a steering team of teachers that worked with Harvard Graduate School and DataWise, were trained in their protocols, worked with their trainers, and then did some piloting with some of our third grade classroom teams. We had a lot of success with that. In fact, Harvard came out to record some of Woodland's meeting sessions to use for training sessions for other schools and other districts. So that's something we're really proud of. We were doing something right.
As positive examples for the record.
Yeah, positive as what not to do. We had a really good experience with that. So we're looking to expand that for next year. We're looking to have data teams expand to different grade levels. and having more data conversations with the whole staff. Whether it's looking at iReady results or MCAS data, just doing some things whole school, small team. So we're going to continue those practices because we feel like that was something that was really successful this year, and it's really important. Building that culture within the school of using data to inform our instructional decisions. And the second goal is around what I spoke to earlier. It's around family and community engagement and getting families into the building, getting us out of the building to where the families are, and having one of the things that we called out as kind of a measurable goal is having 2 parent or family engagement events per month, at least one. And really, when we laid it out a calendar, we started looking at 2 as easily achievable. And some of those are things that we already do, things like parent-teacher conferences or back-to-school nights or our EL family potluck dinner. But looking at ways that we can expand those opportunities to connect with families, because we feel like that's something that we continually are working at, and we're not getting the results that we want to get. So what else can we do? What can we do? In addition, what can we do differently to crack that nut? So those are really our 2 goals.
Any questions on the goals?
Well, you're probably gonna talk about your old goals next, so maybe I'll wait.
Okay. Go to the old goals next.
Sure. So looking at our goals this year, and this was in opposition to this current plan, we had 7 goals for last year. The first was around our implementation of illustrative math and the assessments, and I feel like we've mostly met that goal. Teachers have been consistently meeting with each other, with their math specialists, with our curriculum team leaders, and have been making adjustments to our assessments to make them more accessible for all of our students. That's been a really positive thing. One area of focus for us, though, is how we're sharing that data among teachers. Okay, it's tended to be kind of kept in silos of teachers might share with their colleagues on their team, but they're not sharing it as a grade level, and we're not sharing that as a school. So developing those assessment practices to include an analysis and sharing so that we can have more sharing of best practices amongst teachers. That's something we've got to continue to do. Our second goal was around investigating the high quality instructional materials for ELA and having our pilot get off the ground. That did not happen. We had for a variety of reasons, we didn't get to where we needed to be. And as we know, about halfway through that process, we started talking about budget for next year, and that gave us an opportunity to kind of hit pause and say, all right, let's catch our breath here and figure out what we're going to do for next year. So we've got a better plan in place, I think, for next year in terms of piloting our instructional materials for ELA, so that it'll kick off in the fall. There's a pilot, schedule kind of laid out and how we're going to implement that for next year. We were hoping to do that this year, but things just kept happening and got in the way of doing that. So, we didn't completely meet that, but it did give us a chance to explore some things. And we did have some teachers do some piloting of some of the instructional materials this spring in an informal way. So that kind of, has started the conversation. I mean, just yesterday I walked down the hall and there was a group of teachers talking about some of the curriculum material that they've had a chance to look at and work with. And talking about what that's going to look like in the fall. So those conversations informally are happening. So that's exciting to see. Our third goal was around revising our 5th grade program, moving from a 3 teams of 5 model to 4 teams of 4. And instead of having an ELA course and a social studies course, combining those into a humanities course. I think that has been completely met. We've had, I think, a lot of success with that this year. I'm really proud of our teachers, our humanities teachers who created a course this year. And I, as a parent of a 5th grader, I've been nothing but impressed. As an educator and an evaluator, I've been really impressed with the curriculum that our humanities team, including our EL teachers and our SPED teachers who participated in that curriculum development, really impressed with what the materials that they've created, because they did that from scratch. Looking at the ELA standards, looking at the history and social studies standards, fusing those together, creating the materials, creating kind of the daily lesson plan, having alignment between the 4 classrooms, I've been really impressed with that. Furthermore, one of the reasons that we did this was to kind of even out some of the instructional minutes, especially around math. We know that illustrative math calls for 60-minute math lessons, and previously we only had 45-minute math blocks. That was going to be a problem. So being able to have 60-minute math blocks, we have 60 in reading and science and social study, humanities as well, but particularly in math, our math teachers have been really happy with that. They've been able to implement those math lessons with a lot more fidelity and consistency, feeling like they're making a lot more progress, and lessons have a lot more continuity. They're not having to stop a lesson one day and pick it up the next day, where kids may have, lose some things over time. They're able to complete that in the 60-minute block. So that's been really a positive as part of this process. But I can say the same thing for our science teachers, many of whom piloted the Open SciEd science curriculum, having a 60-minute block to really do some hands-on activities and experiments. 60 minutes, 15-minute difference doesn't seem like a lot, but that's a lifetime in a classroom. So that's been a really positive thing as well. It's carried over to all of our classes. Let's see. We tried revitalizing our curriculum back to school nights to make them more family friendly and to get more parents engaged. That was another goal. We did do that. However, it did not work at all, quite honestly. So we did what we said we were going to do. We were going to try a new approach to our back to school nights, especially around our related arts teachers, to give them kind of a showcase night. And we got less than 10 parents for the night. So that was disappointing. But, that happening caused us to sit back and say, all right, why did that happen? What can we do differently? How can we try a different approach? And so we're back to the drawing board, and that's part of the goal for this year is looking at what can we do differently to get families in here and showcase all of the great things that are happening in all of the classrooms besides just the general ed classroom. There's great things happening in the art room. There's great things happening in PE. There's great things happening in our reading intervention classes. We want parents to be able to engage with those staff members as well, not just the classroom teacher. So we're having those conversations and starting to put some plans in place for next year. Let's see, I think that's the fifth goal was around our culturally responsive teaching practices. And while we did start the year with some professional learning on that, quite honestly, bit off more than we could chew. And so that got kind of pushed aside, and it was not, did not get the priority and the feature that it deserves. But we had too many things on our plate. So that's a goal we did not meet. Let's see. Our goal around data and common assessments, again, that's reflective in this year's plan. We mostly met that goal. We were really excited about the work we did, and we want to continue that and feature that as a school improvement plan goal for this year. And last but not least, around positive behavior and focus on student communication and language, we mostly met that. I feel like with a lot of other behavior programs and models that we've implemented, we start out really well, and then as time goes on, we lose some of that consistency and some of the momentum, and we have to revisit that. So that's something we'll continue to look at, but using that acronym of THINK has been a really positive experience, and that's something that has framed a lot of consistent conversations in classrooms around student language, and having teachers throughout the building be able to talk to kids and say, was that true? Was that helpful? Was that a necessary thing to say? Having those questions to kind of frame conversations with kids about their language, I think that has added a layer of consistency that's been really positive. So I think we've mostly met that goal. Again, we've got to work at the incentive program and having some, continuing the momentum with that, and so that it doesn't kind of peter out. So that's all I got.
I just had two quick questions, Tim.
Sure.
You hit on the humanities piece. I'm
Yep.
just curious for next year, would you envision a revamp, some fine tuning? Obviously, it was the first year of a
Yeah.
totally new program. How do you think about kind of where it will go from?
Absolutely. I think the teachers have been really excited about creating it, and they've been really super organized about kind of taking notes along the way about what they would do differently and how they would change some things. So I think that they'll put that in place for next year. I think one of the things that we were most nervous about was like losing that ELA specific course. Were the kids going to have enough experiences with writing? And that has certainly taken place. So I think that's something we're really proud about. I don't think we're going to change that model. I think our social studies teachers were worried about this is going to be so writing heavy that we're not going to be able to get to some of that social studies content that we're excited about, that the kids want to learn about. And that didn't happen, so I think we're going to keep that. I think a lot of it will stay in place.
Right.
I think one of the things that you will see is because this was our first year doing it, our teachers really stayed in lockstep with each other. All 4 teachers were kind of teaching a very similar kind of lesson plan and a scope and sequence. I think if you went into any classroom on any given day, everybody was within a day or two of each other, of what they were teaching. I think that will start to naturally kind of separate a little bit, where teachers start to feel a little bit more confident in what they're doing and adjusting their lesson plans to meet the exact kids in front of them, versus this is our kind of the baseline.
Yeah.
I think that'll kind of shift a little bit as we start to see like, okay, this class has got more special education students, this class might have more EL students. How is that lesson plan going to get tweaked?
Okay.
So I think it'll be at the kind of that level that you'll start to see some changes.
Okay.
But overall, I think it's in a really good place.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then both Lisa and Vicki kind of touched on within their current plans attendance. I feel like you had attendance as a goal even before we had the attendance supervisors. I was just curious kind of overall,
Yeah.
any progress you're seeing, or just if you could generally speak to how that's going.
Yeah, I mean I would categorize that, Megan, as one of those ongoing things that's
Yeah.
not in the plan,
100%.
but it absolutely is mission critical to everything that we do as a district. We've had our struggles,
Okay.
and we haven't quite figured it out. And Dale and Victor do some great work, but they're 2 guys, and we've got 4,500 students. And when we look at the data, and it says like we've got, I don't know what the exact number is, Craig, with the chronic absenteeism for the district.
20.6%. So
Yeah.
figure 20%.
Yeah.
It's about
That's a
900
lot.
kids.
That's a lot of kids.
Not unique to Milford either,
No,
but just an issue that we
yeah,
want to try to
absolutely.
solve
I mean,
for sure.
and I remember it was a couple months ago, I was reading an article in the New York Times about chronic absenteeism as a nation. And I was sending it to Victor and Dale. I'm like, are you guys reading this? I'm like, this is not just us. And it was funny to read, like, the national average was the exact same number as Milford's numbers. Like, it was like, wow, we're average, and I guess, is that good,
right.
bad? But it's alarming to see, like, this is not a Milford-only issue, but it's an issue that we've got to continue to work at. I think that the best results happen when schools and families connect on a personal level, and we understand what the issues are, and we're able to back that up with resources. And that's been I think that's been one of our struggles. Is I think we're pretty good at connecting with families, but we don't always have the resources available to meet the needs of that family, whether it's transportation or health care. I mean, those are things that we can't necessarily provide. I'm excited to hear what Dave has to say about this, because I was talking to Dave, and he, that was one of his top issues, and he mentioned that at his school they had some really incredible results, and I won't quote the numbers because I don't want to get them wrong, but his chronic absentee rate was like in the single digits.
Wow.
Which is really impressive. So what he has implemented in Mansfield it works, and I was really excited to also see, like, he put together a parent orientation night for next week.
Can't
and
wait. I'll be there.
You'll be there.
Absolutely.
Same here.
Yeah, all right.
I'll let you know how it goes.
We'll take notes.
And one of the first slides that he added was all about attendance.
Yeah.
So I know
That's
that
great.
this is a focus area for him too.
Absolutely.
So
Josh does it with the high school, and it's really powerful when you come in and, like, he's showing the data, like,
Yeah.
MCAS scores, GPA, and when you see the correlation, it does kind of blow your mind. And I would like to think I'm a parent who's like having my kids go to school regularly, but it is eye-opening.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's important that we can continue to send that message. So thanks
Yeah.
for addressing that.
Sure.
Just curious. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much. Come in.
All right, we will approve the plan now. So we need a vote to approve the Woodland School Improvement Plan for the 24-25 school year.
So moved.
Motion by Michael.
Second.
Off every time. Second by Chris. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much for coming out.
You're very welcome. Before I step off, I just want to express my appreciation to the school committee for this year. But in all of my 8 years as building principal at Woodland, I felt super supported. I many times, whether it's in person, on the phone, or over email, hey, what do you need? What can we do? How can we help? The school committee has been incredibly supportive of my building initiatives, but I know that other building principals feel the same. But this is an opportunity for me to say thank you. I appreciate all of your support, whether it's moral support, as a cheerleader, financial support. We'd love to get more staff members over at Woodland, but no. We do feel very supported and well-staffed and well-resourced. So thank you for all of your time and your efforts. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck in the new role.
Thank you.
We'll have you back in.
I will be back.
All right, so that brings us to the chairperson general update. I just pulled out that information. All right, so everyone had in their packet some information that I provided related to an open meeting law complaint that has been filed with the Attorney General's office. So I'll just read the timeline very briefly to give an understanding. So back on April 17th, Dr. McIntyre received a complaint from a member of the public essentially saying that they didn't believe that the minutes that were approved previously from a meeting back in August were acceptable, and they asked for them to be updated. So Dr. McIntyre's role in that was just assuring the individual that they had the proper minutes that they were looking for, and he handed it off to me. I, on May 9th, reached out to town council to get their opinion on whether or not the minutes and the substance of the minutes met open meeting law. And their opinion, which was given on May 14th via email, was that town council did believe that the minutes did comply with open meeting law. So I responded to the complainant on that, essentially just telling them that I was not going to bring it back to this committee because we were advised that the minutes did comply. From there, May 24th, I received the official filing of the open meeting law complaint which is done through the Attorney General's office with their form. So that was sent to me, and it was sent to the town clerk. And as you see on page 2, the instructions of how this is handled are incredibly clear. We have until June 13th, or I should say we had until June 13th for this to be presented to the group. We're doing it tonight. And then the next step is that we need to decide how we want to respond. And we have until June 26th, 2024 to get a response to the complaint. So if anyone has any questions on that, we can go here. Go ahead.
My thought is to go with whatever town council recommends.
Okay. Any other
Yeah, I
thoughts?
would agree on that, right? Town council has said that those minutes complied with what they felt was the standard of open meeting law, correct?
That's right.
I wholeheartedly support that. I just wanted to thank you and town council because I know these things take a lot of time and resources, and so appreciate the follow through. And it's good to know that we're following, adhering to the law. And this.
Do we need to take a vote tonight on something?
Yes. So it was.
I was going to say one more thing to add in, and I had this same discussion with the individual about the notes, was we feel, or in it, the consensus we feel, and I felt that we did what was appropriate for open meeting law, and that by sending it to another body, and in our town council also feels, sending it to the Attorney General's office and another review body, and if they say we did okay, great. If they say that we did not do the appropriate thing, then we know we can change our that we have to change our practices. But it's a difference of two opinions. We'll let the mediator decide, and then we can make any type of changes if necessary from there, would be my opinion.
Sure. Is there a specific motion that we have to vote on?
So
or?
I'll let John speak, and then I'll just bring up my recommendation on that.
Sorry,
I
John.
was just gonna say, I support what everybody else has already
Okay. So
stated.
the instructions from the AG's office does call out that we have the opportunity to either delegate myself, a staff member, an individual, or town council themselves to be the one to formally respond. So my recommendation would be that we vote to have town council issue the response that we choose here. So I'll take a motion on, from what it sounds like, we'll take a motion on asking town council to respond to the complaint, stating as they have in their email that we will not be making any adjustments to the minutes.
Make that motion, Mark.
Motion by Megan.
I'll second.
Second by Chris. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I will get that off to town council, and I'll update everyone when that notice is sent, and then if I hear anything further from that. So that brings us to the MSBA school building project update. So I have just a couple notes on this. Last week, I believe it was late last week, the press release was sent out to local media, and then I believe early this week, Dr. McIntyre emailed district families. So for anyone who has not seen any of the communications, the school committee is looking to appoint 2 community members, and the select board will be appointing 3 community members to the school building committee that will be related to the high school project. And just a summary, the members should have or must have experience in either project management, architecture, or engineering, and should plan to serve for the life of the project, which is anticipated to be 7 to 10 years. So if anyone's interested in doing so, they can send a letter of interest to Melissa Bullock at central office and to the town administrator Rick Villani at town hall. And of course, if you have any questions or you want the full press release and you can't find it, you can reach out to any member on this committee, and that can be provided. Anybody have any other updates?
I've got a general update. I put the June 6th sheet at your table in terms of the progress, and just a couple other things. I want to thank the town meeting members for approving the funds for the feasibility study for the Milford High School project and approving the composition of the school building committee. We appreciate the support. Again, echoing what Matt said, we've sent emails out to families and shared the invitation for sending in an application for the school building committee with local media. Our chair and vice chair and I also met with the town manager and the chair of the select board to discuss the appointment process, which Matt just discussed. The initial compliance certification is also signed and completed. They can't accept it until August 5th, but I did turn it into the MSBA. They'll officially accept it on August 5th. We'll complete the bulk of many of the other areas over the next 6 to 8 weeks after school closes. We have made exceptional progress on the eligibility period tasks over the last several months. Our contact at the MSBA will be reaching out on July 22nd to schedule a kickoff meeting with more details to follow, and hopefully we can have our full committee potentially attend that, as well as the school building committee as well, just to get information on kind of like an orientation basically to the program. But we're well ahead of the game, and the big ticket item has already been checked off, which is funding for the feasibility study.
I did forget to include, and you may be raising your hand to say this very thing. The deadline for the submissions for the school building committee to be considered is, I believe, June 17th, and we have a meeting on the 20th, so the expectation is that we will fill our 2 appointees potentially on the 20th, and the select board plans to do it at their meeting, which I believe is the 24th of June. So we will have it hopefully set by the end of the month, and then that will have everybody ready to go for late July when that initial kickoff begins.
One little update, good news. So I've been talking to Melissa Bullock daily on the letters of interest. We've gotten over 10, and I would say a majority of them have actually well qualified, so this is actually really exciting. So good news.
I just have a quick question, Kevin. I thought I understood this, but I don't. What does the red indicate on this sheet?
That's like the time area where I think the task is going to get done.
So like the enrollment meeting, which is due January 28th, is going to get done in July, August, and September?
I'm hoping. We may have to wait until the date. That's something I've got to check with the MSBA, because we may have to base the attendance numbers on a particular date and time.
So red means done.
Red means that's when it's happening.
Oh, okay. I get it now. In the corporate world, red's bad, so.
Well, red's the Milford color.
Red's our
Yeah.
colors. Everything.
That's great.
I try to do things in red where I can.
That makes more sense. This is supposed to time, okay.
Thanks.
Right.
All right. Any other questions?
No.
All right. So that would bring us to the next agenda item, which is the appointment of the school committee members for the school building committee. So again, the article, as presented at town meeting, had 2 sitting school committee members be designated to participate in the school building committee. So we need to have the discussion of which 2 would like to do that and make that vote tonight. So I am aware of 2 individuals, Chris and Michael, who are interested. Is anyone else interested in serving on this committee?
I am not. I'm just curious if we have 2 active members, if they had an opportunity to comment on that.
I had spoken to Brendan, and he was comfortable with not being involved.
Okay.
I have not spoken to Robin.
Okay, got it.
Any other thoughts?
Well,
Yep.
just to, if I can,
Go for
yes,
it.
to say I have no interest would not be a fair statement.
Maybe not the right word.
To ask if I support these 2 individuals is a different question.
Yeah. Thank you, John, because to be honest, I am completely interested. I don't know what would happen to me if I took on another role on top of this, so I am going to also sit back and support you guys wholeheartedly.
I appreciate that. Just as many of the committee members know, of background in mechanical engineering and project management. I work under federal guidelines and military specifications on a daily basis, so certainly we'll try to utilize that knowledge base on how to develop and work with the state funding, things of that sort, and also planning board member. I have some construction and management experience in the HVAC field, although a number of years ago, but still kind of retain that knowledge, and just generally interested in this project and want to see it be successful. So I think most of all, that's the part that I hope to bring to the board, is just the enthusiasm to really make sure that this project is what we as this board anticipate, and that what the community anticipates it to be for a success.
Yeah, so I'm interested. Some of you know, some don't. When I owned my business, we managed over 15 contracts at the state, federal, and national park level. So we also managed 9 buildings. It was like something like 25,000 square feet. So, my background with facility management is pretty deep. So that's one of my interests of being on the committee.
All right.
I'll make a motion to appoint both Michael and Chris to our school building committee. Matt?
Thank you very much. Motion by Megan,
I'll second.
second by John. All in favor?
I guess we're voting for ourselves.
Yeah. Voting for yourselves. That is unanimous.
That's
Thank
going to
you
show the enthusiasm.
very much. So
Can I ask a clarifying question, just as you've already told me the answer to this? Is that all right, Matt?
yes, please.
Can you remind me what happens, said if you don't choose to run for another 3 terms, does a new school committee member get appointed? How does that work?
Yeah, so right now, that's exactly what would happen.
Okay.
Unless we filled another spot.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah, just for clarity, you remember that when Patrick got off, Jen took over. Patrick, I think, took over for somebody prior to him.
Thank you.
Right.
Perfect.
There's just a form you have to file with the MSBA, and they generally approve it as long as the criteria stays in
But one of
place.
the nice things about this setup, I think, with 2 members and having different staggered terms is you'll retain some continuity when or if there is a.
That's the intent of having staggered.
Excellent.
So,
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. On to the 2023-2024 superintendent self-evaluation and evidence.
Yeah, so this is really brief. I've sent the members my self-evaluation and evidence. After discussing a potential process with the chair, one of the things I'd like to do is schedule an individual meeting with each committee member to review the document, and then have the chair open up the Google form that he used last year, which I think was pretty effective, to provide your feedback. Again, the document I sent was the self-assessment for the 23-24 school year, key successes and accomplishments, our challenges as a district, where we're going next, and an overview of each of the 5 goals agreed to by the Milford School Committee. Each goal section includes a summary of the goal, key actions, identified evidence and outcomes, target indicators, strategic focus areas and evidence. The evidence is captured in a linked folder at the end of each goal section. The work presented here, and I want to emphasize this, like every year, is collaborative and represents the efforts of many administrators, educators, staff, community partners, community members, and school committee members. This is always a full team effort. I had sent out a document earlier this week with time slots. I'm probably going to have to resend that because after a couple of days, my whole schedule tends to change and get filled up. So I'm going to probably update that tomorrow and maybe extend it out another week just to give people an opportunity to kind of, because I know this is kind of a crazy time of year for everybody. And I'll send that either tomorrow or Monday, just depending. And happy to answer any questions.
Do we have a plan for timing overall, Matt?
Yeah, my goal is to present as I try to pull up my notes, my goal is to present the results of the I just literally forgot the word, the
July
evaluation.
20th.
My goal is to present on the 7/25 meeting in July.
Okay, thank you. Just want to have that.
And I will hopefully, depending upon how the scheduling goes, I'll send the form out probably by the end of June, just so you guys have it, and then you can fill it out when you're ready.
Thank you.
Okay. There's nothing else there. Then we can move on to number 9, which is the capital plan discussion. So I requested to talk about this tonight, because I am meeting with, and I'm sure Dr. McIntyre, if you can be there, you'll
I'll be there
join
as well.
And anyone else obviously is welcome. We'll be meeting with the Finance Committee's capital subcommittee on June 12th. That is next Wednesday. They moved that up to, I believe, 5:30 to review the capital plan. And a few months ago, Chris mentioned, given the financial landscape of the town and the expectations of the next couple of years, we should review what we have and see if we can do some shifting, or if there's any stuff that may be able to be moved or removed in order to have a better, more accurate plan to talk about. The meeting next week is just the initial discussion. There will be another one, I'm sure, before the special town meeting in the fall. But Ms. Perry, you have anything?
Yes. So I did meet with Carlos, who, from my perspective, was the only team member that really did not have any input with our capital plan discussion back in January. And along with his discussion and recommendations, there were some changes that I can take off of this capital plan that we were able to address during this fiscal year. So if I could just go through some of the items that I've changed or removed. The first would be under the district capital plan needs, and that is around the 2025 request for $90,000 for the interactive display monitors. So in late April, beginning of May, I was able to capture all through the ESSER grant the final numbers, and I was able to establish a bank of money through that grant process under technology. And when we called that day, all of our current models went half price. So I was able to acquire 68 interactive panels for Stacy and the high school. So I am taking that $90,000 off of our proposed plan, and that all those are going to be hung over the summer. Okay, so that's coming off. In addition, under Brookside, no changes. Memorial, discussing with Carlos the modernized elevator plan. He felt pretty confident right now that there are no issues with the elevator. Anything that we've had in the past year have been addressed through our maintenance plan. So I've pushed that out. I've kept it on the capital plan just as a placeholder, but I've pushed it out to 2028. So we'll reevaluate at that time. Again, that takes care of any changes for Memorial.
So Kathy, just to confirm,
Sure.
there's no issues with the elevator? Because I know it had historically been problematic. It's been resolved, it's working, we're comfortable
Yes,
that.
and we're still able to get the supplies to
Okay.
make the repairs.
Got it.
I believe we were concerned a few years ago that maybe the supplies would not be available.
Got it. So we'd have to take additional measures.
Correct. Under Woodland, I found the issue with the roof in that placement for $4.5 million. That was the Tremco warranty for the old building, so that is completely off our plan, and I don't believe it's going to be even addressed by 2031, so I didn't place it anywhere on our capital plan, obviously. We do have to find out when that warranty expires, though, so we're gonna have to try to figure that.
For the roof?
Yeah, for the roof.
It's probably another 12 years. It's probably a 20-year warranty.
20
So
or
still-
30, so there's a 30 out there too, so we've got to
All
find
right, so it's
that
either 12 or
answer.
22 years.
Yep, okay. So that's gonna be addressed, but only in a date format. Stacy, there are no changes with the capital ask, but we have a lot of projects going on at Stacy over the summer. We're looking to contract and have all the stair treads replaced because they're worn out, which is, again, an ADA compliance issue. So we're going to address that over the summer, as well as we're trying to start our phase of classrooms for all the painting. And as of last week, our ventilation grant and boiler grant, the DESE has approved our plan, and between the capital money and our grant, it will be fully funded with no additional dollars needed, so that's excellent news. And we just signed the contract with the vendor that will be doing all that work.
Great.
They were that vendor that actually helped us out here at the high school. So they're an excellent company. The MHS, the high school, again, we have some items here, but I don't see anything that I could, I do. Nope, everything there is staying on. So if you have other needs or you want to add things, I'm happy to entertain that. I'll just add that, but this is the proposed as it stands. Yes, Matt?
The only thing I would wonder about, number one, do we want to update the high school feasibility study to match the warrant?
Sure, what was it? Was it 2.1?
2.75. And should we kick that to October 2025, because it's definitely not happening this October. It's probably not even happening next October, but I think it's...
Well, the vote already happened. I wonder if we should just take it out.
Feasibility?
The feasibility study, we won't be spending the money on the feasibility study
Right.
until
That's okay.
probably 2026, but we don't have that date.
Yeah,
So
but
this-
that doesn't really matter.
No.
It doesn't even need to be on our capital plan.
Yeah,
The
see,
vote
it's-
I
already
was going to ask that.
that's not even capital.
That's not ours anymore, right? The
Cash
state
accrual.
approved
Right.
the school building committee to spend that money. It's no longer a
Am I
school
wrong?
committee capital expense, right?
I would say so.
Correct, yeah, to my understanding, right? We put it on previous plans, and Megan had asked for it on the plan to, as that placeholder, so capital would see it and budget for it. We got the approval of vote, so now therefore
Right.
it gets actually moved to the approval side, not not for the hopeful side.
Okay.
So Matt, are you suggesting taking it off completely then? Because it's in the article,
Yeah.
it
It's
is,
Yeah,
already
it's
Yeah,
done,
it's
right?
already
There's
voted.
there's no need to have it on here anymore. It was a placeholder to indicate it, so yeah.
It was really so, finance committee and others could see what we'd be asking the town for as we were getting to
Right.
this point.
Right.
And then my only other item was on page one, $100,000 for the parking lot study, and whether or not now is the time to do that, given the landscaping. And I know that parking is a little tight at some places, but is that the money for starting?
I would say, if there's a push to push something, that's probably something we could push, because it's
Okay.
not going to necessarily, it's something that I think needs to be done, but I don't think it necessarily needs to be done next year.
Okay.
And then all the vans, you have 4 of them on there. You
yeah,
feel
then
like
I can push
all are-
those over too.
You-
There might be a
Or-
need for one
or 2.
or two.
2. I'm just thinking at least,
Yeah.
at least 2 of them. I mean, we're asking for 4. I'd like to, I personally, at least, and seems like transportation needs keep increasing,
Mhm.
so
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
So I'll push 2 over, leave 2 on.
Yeah.
If we feel that we need that.
I think that's reasonable.
I think we leave them on, and that will be a good discussion to have with
Leave
maybe Jim before the school year, around September. See where we sit.
Leave all 4 where they currently are.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good plan. We,
Yeah.
Michael and I sat in on a transportation meeting last week. I don't know when it was. And Jim did talk about one of the focus of the group with him and special education and the rest of it, to try to get an idea of routes sooner than later, hopefully towards midsummer, to start knowing where this is going. So potentially end of August, early September, we'll have something more.
So Kathy, so you're going to come back to talk about those?
No.
These are replacements though, right? So they wouldn't stay online. We take 2 off.
We usually pass them on to the technology department.
Right, but there were
There's only 3 guys there. They need 4 vans.
Well, one is really
one they're driving right
dying.
now is no bueno.
But I think it's an important distinction. We're not adding
That's true.
routes. We're just replacing
Vehicles.
older vans.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, one of them being a 2014 van, so it's already at the 10-year mark,
That's
which is
fine.
pretty significant for a New England vehicle.
Okay.
And the other item that I think I highlighted, I don't, unless one of the principals comes forward with their capital plan need for furniture through your budget cycle, I don't see the need to keep that 100,000 for this fall as well.
Surprised you lasted that long.
Thanks for coming.
Gold star.
I actually have a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Kevin, Carlos did his assessment. He's now spent almost a year here. He didn't come up with anything else that we may want to flag. I'm just sensitive to the age, particularly of this building, but in general to our buildings, and that there's not another need that he might be concerned about, that like now's the time, even if it's not in the next 12 months, but in the next 2 years, that we would want to be adding on here. Is that fair right now to say?
I think he would like another year to
Okay.
assess, to be
Okay.
honest with you. I felt as though he didn't feel comfortable with putting items on our capital plan without having that solid knowledge.
Okay.
And so he may have in his budget in the fall needs as well, which is a great platform for him too.
I think we did in my opinion, we did a very good, transparent job with the Brookside classrooms in terms of visibility. And so I would just say the longer we can be informing people that we think we have these things coming, I think it just helps. So that would be the
agree.
only messaging there. I did notice, and this may not be a capital item, it does seem to me that our parking lot lighting is less than ideal. I didn't know if that's something that can be fixed.
Which parking
Well,
lot?
even like out here near the softball field, I don't know if you've noticed, but like it's not particularly well lit.
Oh,
So I-
That small one?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty dark, yeah.
So
don't know
not,
if there's
but
lights.
just something that maybe we would
Are
want to
there
think
posts
about.
out,
I don't even know.
or is it just not enough posts?
I would say it might be a combination, Craig. Yep, I couldn't speak to this.
I can have Carlos take a
All
look
right,
at
I'm
that.
just curious, thanks. And then on the memorial roof, are we extending a warranty when that expires next year? Would that be the plan, or TBD?
TBD.
Okay, got it. Thanks, that's helpful. The bleachers in the gym, the railings, a little insecure or no? Is it safe? You know when you pull the seats down and then you have these things? people-
Within at the high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are, if I know what you're talking about. I don't remember if they're actually built into it or if they get put into it.
Okay. They feel
And-
they
and
felt
they're-
loose at my last.
Because there might be a pin that goes in it
Okay. So maybe just
keep it
I'll
straight.
ask Carlos to take a look. Okay, thanks. And then I was curious, Kathleen, it wouldn't go on here, but is there anything we'd want to do in any of our food service areas that we would be able to self-fund? That no.
Carla has replaced everything that needed replacing.
Excellent. That's a great outcome. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The only project that we're going to be doing this summer is we're switching like the order of the lines just for food allergy purposes, and Carla has the budget to do that.
Okay,
And I don't
great.
think it's going to be anything substantial.
Perfect. Thanks.
It's
Thanks,
a little
Bob.
rewiring it, I think, one building and then shifting a couple things around.
Okay. Awesome.
The only question that I can envision being asked, so you moved the 90,000, or you removed the 90,000 because
Yes.
you bought 68 panels at half. What did you use to buy those? Was that what was in technology budget, or was there
ESSER technology
a
line,
technology? Thank you.
federal grant.
Great. Right. Any other questions on that.
I think it's
All right,
good.
Thank
to-
you. I think that was a good discussion. That was a good shift of some things, and I'm sure they'll be very happy to hear that we had a discussion. All right. One more thing on that. Kathy, you mentioned to me that there was $650,000 in the Woodland Building article from litigation that was awarded.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Matt.
$650,000 from some litigation that was awarded for Woodland.
Oh, yes, and so that was a discussion around the litigation money being used for a cold storage building at Woodland. So in reviewing all of my articles, I did see that the funds are there. So I just wanted to make you aware of that if you did have a need or a wish to continue that plan, that you maybe want to have that discussion with the FinCom, Capital FinCom.
Okay. And was there, I guess this may predate me, was there a discussion at some point to put some type of garage, shed, something like that? Is that what we're talking about?
That's what it
exactly
is.
Okay.
But it would be a cold building, so I don't know that they were looking
Right.
to do at the time, heat and,
Okay.
air
Water.
conditioning, water. Yeah, they just wanted to have a cold storage building.
Okay.
Is that for food storage?
No,
Oh,
that would
like
be
equipment.
for all our maintenance needs, because we really don't have.
Oh, cold
any-
is in
meaning just not-
environmentally.
Environmental.
Okay,
It's not-
yeah,
it's not
like
a
a winter
heated building.
storage, yeah.
It's not a
Okay,
heated building.
sorry.
Put the trucks in there, the
Yeah.
snow equipment, all that stuff.
I mean, I think we're in some old fire barn with our plow truck and needs and.
It's far,
just-
far from ideal.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I can have that discussion with them, and I guess we can talk about that further on if you want to go forward with it.
Thank you, Craig.
Matt, how much what was the amount that came back?
$650,000.
650. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to. Hold on. Where am I? Here we go. An audit update. So I did ask Kathy if she could present tonight with one more update outlining what's completed and what's left over that we'll be dealing with as we transition to the new school building
And I
administrator.
believe it was asked to provide the forms that we use for
Yes.
our process when we have purchase orders that are over $7,500 to provide the quotes. So this is the form that all of the offices have, directors, and they know that their PO will not be approved without these forms being on file. And it just is streamlining the process so that when the auditors do come in and they pull a bank of purchase orders that will be over and require these quotes to be attached, we have them right in central office, and it's just filed, and it becomes an easy process for the auditors. So that's just what we currently do, and it works really well.
Any questions on that? Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for all your work on that. I see there's a couple things on here that obviously is a new process that will be taken care of probably in July, August, when our new business administrator takes on the role. So we'll follow up with her, I guess, in a little bit to decide.
And I did talk to Wen about it last week, so
Okay.
we kind of banked off some ideas on how she could roll that out and what it would look like.
Great. Thank you very much. That one's good. So we talked about a month or so ago about the permitting of the softball and backfields here at the high school. We had the discussions with Parks Department, who was supportive of the district taking on that work. So what I wanted to do tonight was close this one off in terms of formally voting to accept those as part of the school's process for permitting, and then my thought is we will go live with taking it over once the policy is done. Does that make sense? I know you guys are still working on the policy, or is that policy?
Oh, no, I think we should approve this and go live right away.
Right away,
And then
okay.
the policy, yeah.
That's not close.
No,
Okay, all right.
I wouldn't do that yet.
So we can probably wrap this one up quickly then. So I just need a motion to formally accept the responsibility for field permitting of the high school softball field and the backfields at the high school to be done by central office.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Chris,
I was gonna, I'll second.
second by John. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you very much. So that will be immediate. So I'll communicate with the Parks Administrator and let him know, and we'll get the information that he has in terms of contacts. And Kevin, I guess I'll work with you on who at central office will reach out to.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so on to the report of the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Human Resources.
Yes, I have for the committee's approval 8 warrants in the amount of $1,438,464.59.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Megan,
Second?
second by Chris. All in favor? It's unanimous.
The committee also has course reimbursement request in the amount of $15,065.
A motion?
Motion by Chris, second by Megan. All in favor? It's unanimous.
There is a list of the latest appointments from our previous meeting. We do have 3 international field trip requests. Do we want to just take these as a?
I think it's just one
Yeah.
single vote.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
It's all the same company, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so we're looking to travel to Italy, France, and Spain, and that is definitely out of state, which requires a vote.
Can I get a motion? Motion by Megan, second by Michael. All in favor? It's unanimous.
And we do have gifts, Mr. Chair.
Yes, so I'm going to apologize in advance for anyone's names that I mess up here. I have a total of $1,030 gifted to the Family and Community Network. And it is a handful of donations, so I'll just go with the names here quickly. It is Arthur and Patricia Chamberlain, Marion and Paul Larson, Brock Elgert, Carla Pepka and Robert Call, Mark Caffarelli and Craig Hewitt, MRD Custom Construction LLC, Britt and John McAvoy, Raymond Swartz and Allison Williams, Christopher and Lynn Zakili, and Jason Gilbalt. I hope I got that one right. So again, that is for $1,030 to the Family and Community Network. So thank you all very much for your gift. I need a motion to accept.
Motion to accept.
Motion by Chris, second by Michael. All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. All right, so that brings us to adjournment. So with nothing else, we do have multiple executive sessions scheduled tonight. The MTA grievance that is listed on here will not be discussed tonight. The only ones we are talking about are the continuation of the AFSCME bargaining and a review of administrator contracts, and we need a roll call vote for this, so I will start with John.
Yes.
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 I am also a yes. Thank you very much. We will not be returning to open session.